All right, you all. First, let's take a little breather. We've been going hard. We've been going hard. Drop in the chat. Let us all know, how have you all been loving the session so far? Drop in the chat. How have you, if you're tired, I understand. If you need to get up and stretch your legs, do so. I've been sitting in the same spot for the past 4 hours. So I feel y'all. How have you all been loving the amazing
Church.
that we've had so far? The chat is going so fast. So good, amazing. I see fire emojis. Awesome. Remember to take breaks. Remember to honor yourself. I just put some food on the stove myself. But we're going to welcome our next sister to the virtual stage. We're almost done, y'all. We have 2 more sessions. We have Miss Minyan session, and then we're going to end with a traditional Chinese medicine session. So Minyan is going to talk to us. We're going to get technical today, okay? We're going to get to the herbal
Just a teeny,
science
teeny bit.
a little bit. And this is always when I was learning herbalism, the science piece was always hard for me to learn. I had to go back and actually research more and take more courses on phytochemicals and phytonutrients and learning about the energetics and everything of plants. So I'm excited to hear your session. Again, this is Minyan, the herbal scientist. She's a real life scientist in real life.
Yes.
So she is going
Yes.
to be educating us on the science of herbs and herbalism. Go ahead, take the floor.
Greetings, everyone. Alafia, thank you. I am Minyan, the herbal scientist. I am so grateful for this opportunity and to connect with all of you. Before we jump in, I'll give a little background about myself, and then we can move forward with my topic of epigenetics and holistic health. So I am the CEO of my business, Herbal Holistic Wellness, where I make all kind of herbal medicines from teas to tinctures and capsules. I offer wellness consultations, and I created my own herbalism program, the Herbal Holistic Science Academy. I'm also a practitioner of Ifa, which is a West African Yoruba spirituality system, which deals with character being our best medicine. One of our odus or scriptures really go by, or that we really go by, is may my character not spoil my destiny, because sometimes we can get in the way of our blessings, or our ori, which is our head, can get in the way of blocking us. So Ifa also includes divination, plant medicine, animal medicine, but really knowing your destiny and knowing your purpose in life on earth, or Aye, or we call it the marketplace, as we refer it to. So my professional background, Alafia. So my professional background is in the sciences. I received my undergraduate degree from St. Augustine's University in forensic science, and then I received my master's degree in molecular biology from Lehigh University, where my non-thesis review paper subject was on alternative DNA conformations, or the shape of DNA roles in gene regulation. So I was researching the process on how our genes are expressed by way of different mechanisms via regulatory proteins and chemical modifications. So an example of a chemical modification and how our genes are expressed is through this mechanism known as epigenetics. So epi means on top of or relation to, and then we have our genes, the genetics. So it's what's sitting above our genes that's going to actually influence gene expression. And gene expression can be influenced by these environmental chemical modifications that's going to make changes to our DNA. These environmental exposures is going to influence our health. And some examples of these different exposures that make changes to our DNA can be due to heavy metal exposure due to BPA that's found in plastic, air pollutants, diet, what we're consuming, trauma, certain products that may be in or certain products that may contain harsh chemicals and harsh toxins, or the lack of affection or nurturing, and so on. So it's all these external things that really can play a role on how our genes are expressed. And the importance of signaling for a gene to be expressed is almost like saying, if you want to manifest or turn on disease such as cancer or heart disease or kidney disease, or do you want to keep it controlled by limiting your exposure to certain environmental factors, or limiting negative thoughts about ourselves or limiting negative thoughts about our health so we can avoid such occurrences, because what we think and how we feel can all play a role chemically of how, again, how our genes are going to express if we're going to manifest disease or not. So this can go into why positive affirmations or why positive self-talk is very important. So these epigenetic biomarkers can be inherited from our parents, from our ancestors, to provide information on how that child may develop, from their phenotype, their height, their hair color, to even down to their temperament, their mannerisms. So you might even hear sayings like in your family, like, that boy act just like his daddy, or something like that, because these chemical biomarkers are actually being is being connected to the child as they develop. And even for my son, for example, like, he wasn't around his dad's side of the family so much, but how he walks or certain expressions in his face is just like them. And those are those epigenetic markers. And to go even deeper, if you think about slavery and what our ancestors been through and those trauma, those are being passed down chemically as well. So sometimes we probably don't even know why we're being or why we're angry, or certain things are triggering us. And a part of that is, if you will, is breaking away from those generational curses, or choosing a more holistic lifestyle, or knowing your destiny of how to maneuver through life in a more positive way. So from child development, the DNA that makes up our genes store chemical markers that's going to determine how much or how little of genes are actually going to be expressed. And the collection of these chemical marks is known as our epigenome. So different experiences that we have as a child or in our everyday life is going to rearrange those chemical marks. And this is why scientists like to give an example when it comes to twins, is because although they have the same genes or genetics, the same DNA blueprint, they're genetically the same, their environments, behaviors, skills, and health can be different based on what they have been exposed to. And it's the connotation of nature versus nurture, or really it should be like nature and nurture, because yes, we are set with this genetic blueprint, but how we navigate through life or nurturing, the nurturing we receive is going to cause changes on the epigenetic level. So experiences we have during development are going to rearrange these epigenetic marks that governs gene expression. They can change how or if those genes will release information. So epigenetics is going to change the reading of the gene, but it's not going to change the gene sequence itself. So if we remember from biology class how our genetic sequence is made up of these chemical letters, A's, T's, G's, and C's, adenine, thymine, guanine, and cytosine, it makes up this sequence to carry out a specific function. It's coding for a specific function. So our genes are the blueprint to make proteins that's going to carry out specific functions, just such as helping repair bodily tissues. Is going to drive no, sorry, I'm just reading you guys' questions. There's no slides. I'm just kind of just giving you information, but I wish I did have some slides to give you a visualization. But these genetic functions is going to drive metabolic reactions, maintain pH and fluid in the body to keep balance. It's going to keep the immune system strong. It also is going to transport nutrients and act as an energy source. So this is the importance of gene regulation or gene expression. It's basically going to help us to stay alive and to stay healthy and functional. One scientist's work that I really love and admire is Dr. Bruce Lipton and his theory on the biology of belief. His work has demonstrated how the cells within our body can be affected by our thoughts and consciousness, showing how DNA is controlled by signals outside of the cell. And this includes energetic messages coming from positive or negative thoughts, or positive and negative experiences. So this means we really have the power to alter or change our lives or our health for the better by the control of our thoughts and the decisions we make. So if we are in a proper environment physically and mentally, we are putting ourselves in a better position holistically to thrive and to be healthy. However, on the contrary, the more that we stay in a negative environment or have negative influences, eating improper foods can all manifest dis-ease. And Dr. Lipton's biology of belief theory represents this whole notion of epigenetics. When it comes to our health and wellness, our first medicine, I believe, should be our food. And herbs are then kind of secondary to help expedite the healing process. So the science breakdown of that is our diet or the lack of methyl donating groups is going to attack our genome, which will in turn going to turn on or turn off certain gene expression for our body to function in the most beneficial and balanced way. Examples of these methyl donating groups would be like your folic acid, vitamin B6, vitamin B12, and choline, to name a few. These are going to be your micronutrients, your vitamins, your micronutrients, your vitamins and minerals, there we go, that's the word I was looking for, to really help your body to stay functional. So methylation is going to be one out of the 3 examples of epigenetic processes that is essential for our DNA to work properly. This represents the link between environment, nutrition, and disease. So methylation is a biochemical process which is involved in a wide range of bodily functions, and it is important for our overall well-being. When it's out of balance, it can contribute to many different health problems. An example of a poor methylation diet can result to decreased production of dopamine, and these altered dopamine levels eventually can lead to altered levels of other neurotransmitters in the body. And as a result, this person can experience symptoms of lack of focus, lack of concentration, experiencing short-term memory loss, not as organized as well, emotional instability, hormone fluctuation and imbalance, or experiencing proper or improper sleep. Other diseases that is associated with the deprived methylation foods and vitamins are hyperglycemia, which is high blood glucose, and this can lead to type 1 or type 2 diabetes, hyperlipidemia or obesity-related conditions, and many diseases associated with these two, such as cardiovascular diseases. There has been some research that I have read, some research studies in both human and animal models that have shown the importance of optimal levels of methyl donors on brain health and behavior across one's lifespan. So imbalances in these levels of these micronutrients during critical periods of brain development have been linked to epigenetic alterations in the expressions of genes that's going to regulate normal brain function. These alterations in DNA methylation may play a critical role in cancer development and progression. So dietary nutrition intake and bioactive compound or bioactive food components is going to be very essential environmental factors that is going to influence DNA methylation either by directly stopping enzymes that's going to catalyze DNA methylation or by changing the availability and utilization of these methyl groups. So this proves how food is our medicine. So a solution would be eating methyl foods and herbs that are supercharged with these methyl groups, like your dark leafy vegetables, your crucifix vegetables, which is going to include your bok choy, broccoli, cauliflower, and Brussels sprouts. Other foods that will support these donating methyl groups would include your mushrooms, okra, beets, and even down to your nuts and seeds. And a few examples of these herbs that have these methyl groups will be tulsi or holy basil. I know we talked about that a lot today, lemon balm or rosemary. So this is one molecular breakdown of how and why foods play a significant role in our health. And I'm a firm believer that if you have a healthy diet, you can reverse a lot of symptoms that we may be experiencing as a community. So this includes being consistent and having that discipline, and then going back to the belief that you can heal yourself, is which one of the things I tell my clients all the time. So without this, it will be a forever revolving cycle of diseases when we do not take our diet seriously, when we are not managing our stress levels properly, and really putting into practice a holistic lifestyle approach, which can ultimately save our lives or at least live a little bit healthier one. So methylation was the first process of epigenetics, and the other 2 processes of epigenetics is going to include histone protein modification and non-coding RNA. Now that we have talked a little bit about DNA methylation, we're going to jump into the next 2 processes. So histone protein modification is where DNA is wrapped around different protein histones. So I'll make like my fist is this protein, right? And DNA will represent my finger. And it's going to be wrapped around these histones that are grouped into 8 protein complex octamers. So each histone octamer is made up of 2 pairs of 4 different histone proteins. So we have, again, my fifth representation of a protein. So this is going to be your H2A, your histone H2A protein, H2B, H3, and then H4. So because histones are positively charged, it's going to interact with DNA since DNA is a negative charge, or it's negatively charged. So histone proteins are going to interact with DNA in the nucleus to help condense or pack it really, really tightly. And this is going to protect and organize DNA to fit into the chromatin that's going to form our chromosomes. So methylation is also going to happen within histone modification as well. So both methylation and demethylation is going to turn genes on or off. It's going to cause a repression or activation within DNA. Next, we have phosphorylation. This is all within histones. So we have methylation of histones, and now we're going to discuss phosphorylation. So phosphorylation of histone also happens where a phosphate groups get attached, and this process is associated with DNA damage repair. It's associated with transcription, and transcription is where you get RNA from DNA, and then it's also associated with chromatin compaction, which is going to limit the gene's accessibility, and apoptosis or cell death. So DNA can become damaged by these environmental factors that we just discussed, such as diet, stress, controlling those stress levels, and even contaminants that's in generic medications that is used to treat conditions like diabetes, heart disease, and stomach aches. Next, we have acetylation. So I hope you guys are writing this down a little bit, but you can always replay. But next, we have acetylation. So with histone modification, we just went over phosphorylation, methylation, and the third one is acetylation. So acetylation, which is another process of histone epigenetic modification, that changes the structure of chromatin that is going to regulate gene expression by the opening or closing of chromatin to be able to access the genetic material. So unlike methylation, which is going to determine if the gene is going to be expressed or not, acetylation can determine how much of that gene is going to be expressed, meaning it's going to be arranged, creating more or fewer proteins to carry out a specific function or duty. So the last part of epigenetics is non-coding RNAs, or NC, non-coding for short, NC RNAs of epigenetics. So there are many different types of non-coding NC RNAs, but to keep it short and to have a basic understanding, especially when there's so much still to learn when it comes to NC RNAs, and I'll just provide a general conception. So these NC non-coding RNAs is going to bind to mRNA, messenger RNA, that's going to help certain proteins that's going to ultimately destroy or block translation process from happening. So the translation process is going to be very important because it's going to differentiate between your body making a heart cell versus a lung cell versus a kidney cell versus a muscle cell or a skin cell, and so on. So they are they're going to go directly from transcription and skipping that translation process directly to an RNA molecule to perform certain functions within the cell. So the non-coding RNAs are very multifunctional. They can bind to certain sequences of mRNA that will silence or turn off gene expression. In scientific research, when these NC RNAs were observed in lung cancer, they have been shown to be involved in inducing cell proliferation. And cell proliferation is the uncontrollable cell division, and it's also involved in suppressing apoptotic pathways, and it's going to increase those metastatic potential for cancer cells. With these NC RNAs, it's also going to be acquiring for drug resistance too. So it can cause a lot of chaos with these NC RNAs. So from research I have read within the scientific community, it still seems to not to be so clear of how these mutations in the non-coding region will lead to tumor growth and development. But when it comes to epigenetics and having and knowing that we have the capacity to heal ourselves, the big takeaway is that we have a lot of control over our health by making conscious decisions of what we pour into our bodies, from food to products to certain people we allow into our spaces, to certain medications, down to air quality. So living this holistic lifestyle and pouring into ourselves, having more self-love, giving ourselves grace, staying positive, saying those affirmations, having the belief that you can, or having the belief and faith that you can heal yourselves, are all programs to your subconscious mind, and programming your cells on the molecular level is proven to prevent and heal certain diseases. So our epigenome are those chemical markers that we just learned about, can be influenced by what we choose to expose ourselves to. So in closing, the takeaway of epigenetics and holistic health is that we're not defined or bound to our disease, or bound to a disease by our genetics. Our body is always trying to naturally heal itself through natural DNA repair. We have the potential to reverse a lot of symptoms due to disease if we put into practice a holistic lifestyle by eating nutrient food that's going to have those methyl donating groups, or being around people that's showing us love, showing us positive energy, and essentially just being mindful as we navigate ourselves through this life journey and what we choose to expose ourselves to that can benefits our health or cause harm to our health. So thank you all so much for letting me share this little knowledge with you all about epigenetics and holistic health. I hope you were able to learn more about this subject and how science proves that we really can heal ourselves through positive environmental factors on a cellular or on a molecular level. So you can find me on Instagram. Hopefully we'll put some links in the chat. You can find my website to different herbal products for our consultations, or to join the academy. The next opening will be in November. So in my program, I guess I can talk about that a little bit. I go over the history of herbalism, plant constituents, 31 common herbs, epigenetics, pharmacokinetics, basically how drugs are metabolized through our body, herbal contraindications and clinical trial settings, herbal preparation, remedies, and dosing. Then I go over into different bodily systems, such as the digestive, cardiovascular, neurological, and a few others. And then I do have quizzes, assignments, and all of that. But with that, I do have a sample course, which will be included in the BIPOC bundle, along with the other herbalist learning material that you definitely should take advantage of. And lastly, I will be having a retreat that's happening in March 14th through the 19th in Costa Rica, Fiora da Vida. If you want more information, there's a link for that as well.
Oh, I would like to join you on retreats. I love
I
retreats.
want to enjoy you on one of your retreats, okay, to Africa or to Ghana or
Africa,
somewhere.
we got some spots open. I think y'all act quick. When I said there were some spots open in Africa, we got like 5 emails.
Yeah, but
Like,
then I looked at the dates and I was like, it might not work. But next time for sure, for sure.
yes, yes. Thank you so much. When I tell you, so much rich information and gems were dropped. And if you all need a visual aesthetic, I'm a visual learner myself. So if you all need a visual aesthetic, make sure to grab the BIPOC Herbalism Resource Bundle that will be dropping October 30th, 1 week post the conference. Minyan does have an intro to epigenetics in there, and it's a video and slides and everything. So you'll be able to tie the information you learned today with the information, the actual visual information. And so that is included in that. So I know, again, that was a lot of rich information. Again, my brain is just like, oh my gosh, it's amazing. It's
I
so much.
was trying to keep it concise as possible, but it's so much to really know, to get a basic understanding of epigenetics.
I told you when I was in my herbalism program, I had to take, that a couple times to be able to digest it. That's just how I learned, though. I'm the kind of person, I have to see it, I have to visualize it, I have to see books and pictures. I'm a very visual learner. But if you all have any questions for Minyan, please put them in the chat and I'll read out the questions. Let's see. All right, we do have some questions. I'm trying to start from the beginning. These were from leftover from Naajele. Uh,
Excuse me.
Someone is asking, are you connected to the National Institute of Health's nutrition program at all?
I am not. I just have my science background and then just did some independent studies studying from other herbalists, notable herbalists like, like Dr. Sabi, Dr. Laila Africa is one of my favorites. KT Arcdegree, I love his work, the scientific breakdown. So different mentors that kind of connected with their approach to herbalism.
Awesome. How are mRNA shots containing spike proteins affecting our DNA and health?
How are spike proteins affecting our health? So different viruses or proteins have different characteristics like those spike proteins. So basically, they can just affect like any other type of virus or retroviruses that's going to manifest or that you can get commonly. So the question was, how are those spike proteins affecting our health? Was it?
Yes. So how are mRNA shots affecting, I think I just clicked off of it. Let me go back. How are mRNA shots containing spike proteins affecting our DNA and health?
It's basically just a virus, just like a common virus that you would get into your body that's going to affect your health or your immunity levels, just like that. So you'll take herbs or whatever remedies that you're using to get away from that virus or to mitigate it pretty much. So it's just a characteristic of how that virus is. It's not all viruses or proteins have spikes on them.
Okay, these are all comments. Do you teach about making capsules in your programs?
Capsules, I go over capsules. I don't know if I show the breakdown, but that's one of the parts I'm going to revamp to give a visualization of how I actually make it. But I do go into different forms of medicine like capsules, tinctures, decoctions, like that. But with capsules, I will be more in detail as I update that on my course.
So someone is asking again about the mRNA vaccine when it comes to herbs. I believe they're talking about, what's going on
Okay,
now.
I see.
And so they're asking, even if you are vaccinated, can you still use herbs and natural remedies to be able to treat yourself?
Yes, I had a lot of people come to me about that. So if you're trying to look for like a detox from the vaccine from your system, because a lot of vaccines are made with a lot of heavy metals, then I would suggest to do a heavy metal cleanse. And that's using like activated charcoal or turkey rubber. And those will be good to kind of detox those toxins from the vaccines out, if that's what you're asking.
Oh, I'm not sure, but that was great to know. So do you know if anyone successfully been able to detox from the vaccine using those methods? How successful is it?
I know that some symptoms has reduced from the vaccines that they were experiencing. Some people experience like long-term heart issues or other organ complications from the vaccine, or feeling very fatigued and things like those symptomologies has manifested. So from doing a heavy metal detox has helped those symptoms to reside.
All right, that's again great to know. I have people asking me about that, and I have very limited knowledge as I'm not vaccinated. So thank you on that. Is there any evidence that if we alter our own epigenetics by implementation of these changes, will this also change the gene expression of our future children?
Yes. So these epigenetic markers can be passed down to our children. So what we're eating right now, what we're consuming, how our consciousness is right now is going to be passed down to our children. So the example I gave of like my son, or if you hear the expression within your family, like how that person just look and act just like so and so, is because of those epigenetic markers, those chemical markers is being passed down, but they're not permanent. And that's the beautiful thing about epigenetics, is because we have the power to pretty much change those epigenetic markers to not express those things, or if you do want things to express. So with those epigenetic markers, for example, like cancer or disease, you don't want that to be passed down to you. So you're going to take different environmental approach as far as your diet and those other positive environmental factors that I was discussing, as far as meditation, being around people that you love, and just really that holistic lifestyle approach that's going to change those markers and not being defined by it.
And can you restate one more time those herbs that you recommend using for detoxing from the vaccine?
Um, what is it? Activated charcoal. So you have charcoal, activated charcoal, turkey rubber is the main two that I use in my heavy metal capsules.
Thank you. Someone wants to know more about IFA and your
Sure.
practices with incorporating that with herbalism. So can you explain a little bit more? That's not a lot of knowledge, but because I mean, again, we mentioned that spirituality and herbalism, they go kind of hand in hand.
Yes, for sure. So actually, I got introduced to IFA by way of capoeira. So one of my capoeira instructors, which is an Afro-Brazilian martial arts, introduced me to my Baba, who I go to in LA, Baba Abu Fashegun. I love him. He's great. But there's a diverse healing mechanism that happens within IFA, and plants is one aspect of it amongst other different healing tools. But from my experience in doing different rituals and sacrifices, I have used plants like bitter cola is really known in ritual spaces. You can chew on them. It just gives you, it means just like long life and longevity. So that is one plant that we use a lot. Just to give you an example, but there is different type of tinctures that my Baba makes as well, but he used like snakes and other animals and other things that's kind of like in a TCM, traditional Chinese medicine too, and different tinctures using animals and plant medicine too.
So someone is asking, how do you reconcile, I guess, the scientific side with your herbalism side, being that the US is pro science and not pro herbs, and you being an herbal scientist? What do you feel about that?
I think science is now trying to catch up to tradition. So there is you see more and more research articles about certain plants, about their phytonutrients and their chemicals that is giving therapeutic effects. So you can just do a simple Google search like me, for example, if I just want to study a specific herb, let's just say I choose black walnut hull, and then I want to say, what is the chemical compounds? What are the phytonutrients within this that's going to have a therapeutic effect? And there's research articles out there. It's not out there as much in the media, it's not talked about, but you definitely can do a Google Scholar search and see how medicinal properties is being researched.
Along the same line, so they're trying to draw the connection between the science of herbalism and epigenetics with herbalism. And she just listed off, important things you need to know about an actual herb. I'm somebody who, I come from a medical background, so I'm pro clinical trials, I'm pro research, but I'm also pro our ancestors too. I think it's important to know that this herb has been clinically studied and it won't kill you. It's important to know those things. So when it comes to epigenetics, I guess they're wanting to know what how practical is the application? Are you using that a lot are you referring to your epigenetics training a lot in herbalism when you dealing with clients?
So the example I had gave is with these epigenetic changes is going to come from, or if you're talking about in relationship specifically to herbs and to plants, that's when the example I gave when it comes to methyl donating groups. So these methyl groups coming from the herbs or coming from the foods that we eat is going to limit the expression of like cancer, of diabetes, of kidney disease, or whatever disease that might manifest. So eating these herbs or taking these herbs as a tea or tincture, however you're going to get it in your body, is going to limit the expression of those diseases. And that's where epigenetics come from, because your DNA is your blueprint, and epigenetics can't change your DNA blueprint, but it's going to change the expression of how that gene is going to manifest pretty much. So again, eating the foods, taking the herbs is going to limit those epigenetic expressions or gene expressions so you don't manifest disease.
I love that. And then someone is asking about blood transfusions in regards to DNA and it changing your DNA at all.
No, it's
Okay.
not going to change your DNA.
I knew the answer to that, but I wanted the experts to answer. All right. And then based on, this is another broad question, based on your experience and studies, what's the best way we can support our future generations on this knowledge? So maybe how can
Um,
you share? If you can elaborate, person who asked that question, go ahead, put it
so
in.
how can we share?
Yeah, I guess how can we support our future generations on this knowledge of epigenetics and the science of herbalism? I'm not sure, but if the person who asks that, we have time, we have like 10 minutes. If you can ask a clarifying question, a follow-up, that'd be great.
Just word of mouth. Just be that griot person in your family. You learned this knowledge, now pass it on. Each one teach one type of thing, and just keep sharing the information. And teach your children. I teach my son. I'm homeschooled, but even outside of homeschool, just have these conversations with your family members. And so they know that knowledge and just pass it on to the next person.
This is just a comment. Jennifer says, I've been following Minyan for a while now as a
That's
master
it. Thank you.
prepared nurse. I just love your presentation. And I love that we can use science to prove the benefits of herbalism. So just giving you praises.
Good thanks. Good thanks. That's it.
Let's see. I'm curious about how herbs and neuroplasty work in terms of reshaping DNA after childhood trauma.
I missed the first part.
They're asking how neuroplasticity works in terms of reshaping DNA after childhood trauma.
It's just trying those holistic approaches. If you want to do an herbal approach, you have mushrooms are really good for neuroplasticity, nurturing that child through whatever the origin of what caused them that trauma, therapy, meditation, just developing those holistic life skills.
And people are asking about your retreat. Can we get more information on that? Are we going to be learning about science in Costa Rica? I would love to come and learn.
Wish. Costa Rica. So I partnered with Trovo Trip. They reached out to me and basically they just have an itinerary. We'll be going to chocolate farms. We'll be doing a night forest walk, meditation, just a few things that we have on the itinerary. But I'm gonna be there so you can ask me any questions when it comes to science and herbalism. And of course, we could chat on the side about that.
So this person is asking about foods in respect to honoring our lineage and our culture. So what are your thoughts on ancestral foods for health? And how do you recommend these displaced from our lineage to regain this knowledge?
Food is more something I have to tap into when it comes to like our ancestral food, because like the other presenters said with the jollof rice, like that's now popular, but that's not essentially what our ancestors ate. So our diet is more so removed from what our ancestors ate. They ate more like different herbs from the forest, from the wild. So they had more of a bigger biodiversity when it comes to plants and getting those different type of bitter herbs within the system and having a vast more micro nutrients within the gut. So I think we're not even close to what our ancestors ate, or if we're growing those foods organically or sustainably that our ancestors were consuming during that time.
Yes, I remember reading, I also have books on Dr. Sabian, Layla Africa, and they also get into eating for your lineage and eating based off of your culture and heritage, because we're so far away from our culture, and we don't eat how our ancestors ate. And so they get into how you can eat based off of your lineage to be able to heal your body. So I would just say do additional researches on those historic herbalists to help you out with that. We got about 6 minutes. Let's see, what made you choose Ifa over others?
I guess it comes like to with any religion. It's just whatever you're drawn to that's going to work with you. Like I'm not opposed to anyone that's being Christian or Catholic or Muslim or Buddhist, whatever that you resonate with. So EFA is just one of those things that resonated with me, and I just loved it, constantly learning, want to learn more. Soon I will be getting my step 5, my one hand of EFA. So it's just a journey, whatever connects with you.
Any good book recommendations on epigenetics?
Bruce Limpton, you can look at his work that I had mentioned, Dr. Bruce Limpton. I'm not sure the title of his book, but if you just type in his name, then his information will pop up.
All right. And then,
Here you go, Biology of Belief. That should be the title of it.
awesome. Someone is also asking about the connection between foods and epigenetics in our culture. We just spoke on that. Is spirulina and chlorella a good source of expelling heavy metals?
I use chlorella, but I did hear Dr. Sadie said it was one of those fake herbs, but I use chlorella within my detox capsules.
I use it a lot as well. And then people want to hear more on ephosis.
You know what's so funny, and I'm so grateful for one of my dafas, which is divination. My baba told me, oh, I got like, we get the chills. But one of my recent dafa, actually, he said more people are going to start talking to you about or want to know about more about Ifa. And I feel like even though I've been practicing Ifa since my son's whole life, he's 9 now. I still feel like a baby when it comes to Ifa. And one of the things my Baba says is people here in the diaspora, we only know a pinky nail of information. That's what's on the continent. But I could connect you with my Baba, Fashegun, if you want his information. If you're in the LA area, we're actually having an Egun, which is ancestral ceremony coming up November 12th. You can send me an email and I can send you that information. But Ifa is an in-depth spirituality system. It's actually based on science too. Is mathematics. So if you're familiar with binary numbers, ones and zeros, when you give divination, we use like a shell, and if it falls on a concave or convex side, it's going to represent a 1 or a 0. And you have 4 on each side. Let me see. I will use my ileke kind of as a representation, even though it's not really the thing. But for example, you'll have like 4 shells. My screen's not big enough, but you have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4 on the other side. So it's 8 total. And the babalawo will throw the shells, and depending on how they lay on the concave or convex side, it's going to give you a scripture, or what we call an odu. And that's going to tell you about your destiny. And it could tell you basically about how you can maneuver to be a better person, or it could tell you if you need to abstain away from chicken just so you don't develop disease or stuff like that. It just teaches you about yourself and what your purpose is in life. So I love Ifa. I love the tradition and the science that comes with Ifa.
Awesome. We have about 3 more minutes. Someone wants to know about gluten intolerance. Do you find that it's more prevalent in African American communities, or just in general?
I would say in general, but as African Americans, we have a low tolerance when it comes to a lot of things, just because our genetic disposition. So we want to kind of stay away from, or I'm not big on health like that or diet, but I want to say if you do have a serious disease, you want to refrain from a lot of dairy products or meat consumptions, because especially as of African Americans, we're sensitive to that, and we can develop disease more quicker or manifest diabetes or certain things quicker when we are consuming those type of foods.
Someone wants to ask about repairing our DNA. They asked, do you think we can repair the DNA to the damage to our DNA and from generational trauma that occurred throughout our lineage and during slavery through the use of herbs?
Yes, and other holistic practices too. So that's the beauty when it comes to epigenetics is we're not defined by our DNA. We have the capability to change how these genes are expressed by using herbs and other holistic practices, not just sticking with one thing, like being an herbalist, a holistic lifestyle practice. So it's about your mental state, about your diet as well, who you're surrounding yourself to, saying affirmations, having that belief, that spirituality or the biology belief, like Dr. Bruce Lipton talks about. So encompassing all of these things can help you to repair your DNA. But think again, your body is always trying to repair itself already. It goes through a natural DNA repair mechanism, but using these holistic tools is going to help that process better.
Awesome. Well, it is now time. It is time
Yes.
to let Minyan go. But we thank you, sis. We got
Thank
epigenetics.
you. Thank you. Yes, it's like, but for me, it all just makes sense, even though it seemed like two different worlds, but it all goes together.
We're so grateful to have your presence in this space. And I've been asking everybody their favorite color so we can get some emojis for you. What's your favorite color?
My favorite color is that dark purple, but I am into that green too, that earthy green.
Let's drop purple and green emojis for Minyan if you enjoyed learning about epigenetics and the
I
science of
sure, I
herbalism,
sure.
as well
Thank
as
you.
learning about E5s. We got a 2-for-1. All
There
of
you go. Bye.
Yes, thank you, Mignon. All of those hearts are for you. We appreciate you and thank you for showing up in this space again. So make sure to get the bundle, the BIPOC Herbalism Resource Bundle, which will be released October 30th. It is over 25, almost 30 courses and ebooks from all of us. And it's only $67. It is a $1,600, I believe, value. All of the courses and ebooks combined worth over $1,600. We're releasing it for $67.